This winter, first in line are health workers and care home residents, as millions became eligible today for the single-shot jab 6 months after their second dose.
Just to protect my family, myself and the women in my care.
I feel confident, going into winter. I can carry on doing my job as well.
Also tonight, the David and Goliath legal battle won by this mother over noxious gas from a landfill at the end of her road. Return of the champion, hugs at home for Emma Raducanu, back with her family after her tennis win. And who came to the rescue of Peter Rabbit, lost on his travels around the world, but now reunited with his 6-year-old owner?
It's like my dreams come true. It was. Because I knew he would never give up on me.
This is the ITV Evening News with Chris Shipp.
Hello, good evening. The race to give millions of people a COVID booster jab started in earnest today, with the rollouts beginning in England and Wales. It's the main plank of the government's winter plan to keep pressure off the NHS and prevent a return of restrictions. Those first in line include care home residents and staff, as well as other frontline health workers. But there are concerns tonight that it may have come too late. Here's our health editor, Emily Morgan.
OK, sharp scratch.
For workers on the front line, getting a COVID booster jab is a necessity, not just for them.
There you go, all protected.
But also for the health service they love to work for.
I feel confident, going into winter. I can carry on doing my job as well, that won't be interrupted. I can carry on with my, family life as well.
Croydon Hospital was one of the first hubs to give third vaccinations today in a bid to ensure it isn't overwhelmed this winter. The over 50s, health and care workers and those with underlying health conditions will get a booster, as well as anyone living with someone who's immunosuppressed. That's 32 million people, but only 1.8 million of those are eligible right now, since it's given 6 months after the second dose. For Norma and the other residents at this care home in Cheltenham, the brief pain was worth it for the benefit they'll now get from having maximum immunity.
Nobody can be protected from everything, but it will be a help if we have, yes. And it'll keep us out of the hospital and the NHS.
And that, of course, is the main driver for these boosters, to avoid the NHS reaching a tipping point.
The NHS is already under a huge amount of pressure, and that's before we even hit the winter months. We know that COVID isn't going away anytime soon. We know we're also expecting a few more flu cases coming in as well. So times may well be tough.
The government is so far relying on vaccines to keep COVID at bay. Those advising the Prime Minister, though, are clear they might not be enough.
We need to keep going with all the various interventions we have. We may need to reintroduce non-pharmaceutical interventions, things like face mask wearing and about distancing. But importantly, and the key thing is making sure that the immune protection is as high as we can make it.
Come along, let's do you.
With more than 8,000 people already in hospital with COVID and an expected flu epidemic, it is now a race against time to vaccinate as many people as possible.
Well, the NHS is now under huge pressure to deliver on this massive vaccination programme. They're likely to have to do 1 million vaccines a day, whether that is the flu jab or the COVID jab. But the point about the next few months is that we have never been through a winter with COVID alongside flu and the vaccine. So there are huge uncertainties about what is going to happen over the next few months and whether the NHS really will be able to keep its head above water. That is why the government has its plan B.
OK, Emily in Cheltenham, thank you very much. Now, from those getting their third jabs today to those yet to receive their first, the deadline has come for care workers in home care centres in England to be given the initial dose of coronavirus vaccine. If they refuse, they risk losing their jobs after the government made the vaccine mandatory for them. But many care homes are concerned it will worsen the already severe shortage of staff, as our UK editor Paul Brand reports.
Yeah, come on then. You were up early today. Come on then, sweetheart.
It is their job to encourage others.
Up you get. That's lovely.
But now it's carers who need convincing. Among their duties at this home in Milton Keynes, several, like Sophia, do not count getting vaccinated.
I believe that God has given me an immune system that works properly. My reason for not taking the vaccine is religious.
Do you think your religious views are more important than the lives in this care home?
I would leave if I felt I was a risk to these people, but I don't feel that I am a risk.
You're already a risk though, aren't you, just by being here and not being vaccinated?
But they are vaccinated. They should be safe, shouldn't they?
Sophia will retire in the choice between a job or a jab.
Hey, Mum!
An ultimatum faced by all care home workers who look after vulnerable residents, like Jenny's mum, Carol.
I definitely believe in the jab, and I definitely believe, if nothing else, to cover yourself if you work with people. If that's your job, then I personally would like to feel that I'm protected.
And your mum's protected?
Yeah.
Today is the final chance for care home staff to get their first dose of protection, because the law states they need both jabs by November the 11th. Though new guidance, issued just yesterday, means any carer can declare themselves medically exempt simply by signing a letter.
Across the country, 18% of carers still haven't been double vaccinated. At this care home, they think 6 out of 36 staff will choose to leave their jobs instead, at a time when the sector can't afford to lose a single one.
Not when care is already facing its worst staffing crisis.
But this is a heartbreaking decision that is forced upon some individuals, and these individuals have given up a lot of their life to work in the care sector. We've got individuals today who have been here for 15 years, and we're going to lose that.
This home would prefer more time for persuasion, but carers have already had almost a year to make a choice, which from tonight is no longer their own. Paul Brand, ITV News, Milton Keynes.
Now, the boss of John Lewis has told ITV News the government needs to intervene in the HGV driver shortage to protect supplies for Christmas. Dame Sharon White said her company, which includes Waitrose, is prepared, but the co-op said today that the lack of drivers means it is struggling to keep shelves stocked. Our business editor Joel Hills is here. You spoke to the John Lewis boss. Increasing concerns then about these shortages?
Yeah, look, the John Lewis partnership reported its results for the first half of the year, Chris. It made a loss, but there were actually signs of a revival, so much so that the head of the partnership said she may be in a position to reinstate the bonus at the beginning of next year. What could possibly go wrong? Christmas. Make or break time for retailers, and as we know, they are trying to deal with a dire shortage of HGV drivers at the moment. Now, John Lewis says it has the drivers it needs, but only because it whacked up salaries and handed out £1,000 golden hello bonuses. It has otherwise struggled to recruit what it needs. Now, the government is under increasing pressure to issue temporary visas, and today the chair of John Lewis, Dame Sharon White, added to that pressure.
I mean, it would certainly be helpful, but we're not depending on it. You know, our partners are working tirelessly to make sure that Christmas gets delivered.
But just to be clear, you would like the government temporarily to make it easier to recruit from abroad?
It would certainly be helpful.
So John Lewis says it has the drivers it needs, Chris. The co-op, which also reported a small loss today, does not. The chief executive said that it's very clear that the driver shortage is creating gaps on the shelves, and it's also pushing up prices. He too called on the government to intervene. Now, the government is not going to issue temporary visas, partly because it says there are driver shortages across Europe, partly because it wants vacancies to be better paid and filled by British workers, and partly, Chris, because the optics would look terrible post-Brexit.
OK, Joel, you're excused for talking about Christmas in September. Thank you. The Prime Minister has defended a major new security partnership announced last night by Britain, the US and Australia. The AUKUS alliance, as it's been named, will allow the three countries to share defence technology. But France called it a stab in the back because the alliance replaces a deal it previously signed with Australia for new submarines. And China accused the three countries of having a Cold War mentality, something Boris Johnson denied.
AUKUS is not intended to be adversarial towards any other power, Mr. Speaker, but it merely reflects the close relationship that we have with the United States and with Australia, the shared values that we have and the sheer level of trust between us that enables us to go to this extraordinary extent of sharing nuclear technology.
Scotland's First Minister says she may call in the military to help with what she called unacceptably long ambulance waiting times. Nicola Sturgeon today apologised after a Glasgow man died following a 40-hour wait. But she warned the ambulance issues may last for some time as COVID continues and winter pressures start to build. Our Scotland correspondent Peter Smith has this report.
Gerard Brown, a husband and father of three, had a fall in his home and was struggling to breathe. His family dialed 999, but they waited almost 2 full days for help to arrive.
The ambulance arrived at between 3 a.m, 4 a.m. on the Wednesday morning from first phone call at 11 a.m. on the Monday. And they were just too late, obviously way too late.
Gerard had already died by the time the ambulance turned up. He was just 65.
The hardest part of it all was when I spoke to the doctor the next day after we were informed that my dad had passed and they got there too late. The doctor told me, if they got there, my dad would still be here.
The Scottish Ambulance Service is now operating at their highest state of emergency, with delays blamed on recovery from the pandemic and a backlog of non-COVID patients. It's now so bad Scotland's Health Secretary advised people to think twice before calling an ambulance. And Scotland's First Minister faced furious questions in Holyrood today.
What does the First Minister have to say to Gerard Brown's GP, who said, "This is third world medicine"?
I recognise that some people are not getting the standard of service that they should be getting, or indeed the standard of service that the Scottish Ambulance Service wants to deliver. That is not acceptable, and I apologise unreservedly.
Nicola Sturgeon is now calling in the British Army for help, but that is coming too late for Gerard and his family, with warnings that there could be another bleak winter ahead in Scotland's NHS. Peter Smith, ITV News, Glasgow.
Still to come on the ITV Evening News. He stormed off-set earlier this year, but where and how will Piers Morgan be returning to TV screens? And
it's a great feeling to be back home. I've been away for 7 weeks, so it's nice to be back.
yeah. Emma Raducanu on returning to life back home that will never be the same as when she left. Those stories and more after this very short break. Welcome back. The mother of a child born with a lung disease has won what's been called a David and Goliath legal battle over noxious gases from a landfill site. Rebecca Corrie took on the government's Environment Agency over the stomach-wrenching smell coming from the Staffordshire site close to their home. She argued the gases could shorten the life of her vulnerable son. Rebecca Barry heard their story.
I'm the winner. I'm the winner. Matthew.
They are the winners, but this is a battle they say no one should have to take on.
Every human being has got the right to breathe fresh air, and I've had to take this to the High Court so my son and all our community can breathe fresh air. It makes me angry.
This is the landfill site near her home in Staffordshire, accused of emitting stinking, noxious gases, tormenting people here.
Got to a point where I thought, I can't do this anymore.
5-year-old Matthew was born prematurely with a chronic lung disease. Doctors say breathing poisonous gas from the site risks shortening his life.
It's absolutely horrific. You go in your children's bedroom You open the door, it's thick, the gas, the toxic fumes, coughing, choking, vomiting, nosebleeds. I mean, he run in from the garden the other day shouting, "Mummy, Mummy, put some water in my nose, it's burning." You know, he's 5. This shouldn't be happening.
Today, the High Court ruled the Environment Agency must step in to dramatically cut pollution from the site, to the relief of residents, some of whom even taped up their doors and windows.
It's the first time that any one of authorities actually recognised this disaster. Even last night I had to leave my home at about 11:30. I've still got a headache from the gas.
For the last 2.5 years we've had a churning gut because we've been fighting so long. This morning when we got the news from the High Court, felt elated.
Matthew and his mother have won on behalf of their community.
We can live our lives again instead of being prisoners.
The Environment Agency and the landfill site, who both fought against the claim, now say they have sympathy and will take action. Rebecca Barry, ITV News.
England and Chelsea footballer Reece James has pleaded with fans to help find the burglars who broke into his home and stole his Champions League winners' medals. The 21-year-old shared this CCTV footage of the robbers stealing a safe from his house on Tuesday night while he was away playing at Stamford Bridge. Police say they are investigating. Marks & Spencer has blamed supply issues following Brexit for its decision to close 11 stores in France. The retail giant said it has been near impossible to maintain standards of food supply. And a fire at a power station in Kent has caused the cable which brings in electricity from France to be shut off, leading to a jump in wholesale electricity prices. National Grid was forced to evacuate its Sellingy site yesterday morning. The company says it will be more than 6 months before the link can be fully restored. Next, Piers Morgan has announced he'll be returning to TV screens 6 months since he stormed off the set of ITV's Good Morning Britain.
You continue to trash her.
OK, I'm done with this.
No.
Sorry, no. Sorry.
Do you know what? That's pathetic.
You can trash me, mate, but not my own.
No.
See you later.
I'm being...
Sorry, can't do this.
This is absolutely...
That followed a heated discussion about the Duke and Duchess of Sussex's interview with Oprah Winfrey. His new role will be on a brand new channel being launched by Rupert Murdoch's News UK. Neil Connery is outside the company's headquarters tonight. Neil, obviously Piers Morgan's rarely lost for words, so what's he said about this?
Yeah, a lot of speculation about his future. We now know that he is joining Rupert Murdoch's News Corp and Fox News Media in a big deal. He will get a new global TV show. It will be shown on News UK's Talk TV channel, which is launching in early 2022. And Piers Morgan is one of the biggest names so far to sign up for the channel. Now, the former News of the World editor has said today, "I'm thrilled to be returning to News Corp, which is where I began my media career more than 30 years ago. I want my global TV show to be a fearless forum for lively debate and agenda-setting interviews. I'm going home and we're going to have some fun." Now, Piers Morgan will also write 2 weekly columns for The Sun and also the New York Post as well as part of this deal.
OK, Neil, thank you very much. Emma Raducanu made a triumphant return home today for the first time since winning the US Open. The cameras waiting for her were another sign of how quickly her life has changed in the 7 weeks since she was last there. And as our sports editor Steve Scott reports, she now has the world at her feet.
Morning, Emma.
Morning, Emma. You all right? Well
Congratulations.
Done. She left home nearly 2 months ago, a straight-A student dreaming of a brilliant tennis career. She's returned a Grand Slam champion, nearly £2 million richer, and with big brands tripping over themselves to sign her up.
No, it's a great feeling to be back home. I've been away for 7 weeks, so it's nice to be back.
Yeah, good to hug your parents again.
Yeah, it was nice to see them again.
And what's your plan going forward now?
Haven't thought of anything. I'm just enjoying it and relaxing, recovering, and we'll make some plans.
Her whirlwind began less than a week ago, and since then she's hardly had a moment to herself. Her face lit up the New York backdrop.
How are you going to top this?
Yeah, it's absolutely insane to think.
She's charmed the US breakfast shows, held centre stage at a prestigious A-list event.
I'm Emma Raducanu and I'm on my way to the Met Gala. I'm so excited. Bye!
And even paid a visit to the New York Stock Exchange. I'm proud of her, said Daddy in this afternoon, admitting he was relieved to have her home. She won't be there for long, though. A whole new world awaits Emma Raducanu, both on and off the court. Also waiting, millions of fans impatient to see what happens next to Britain's newest sporting superstar. Steve Scott, ITV News.
To a different kind of homecoming now, and after a little boy's lost soft toy apparently travelled around the world, 6-year-old Ethan McCann was heartbroken when he mislaid his cuddly rabbit during a holiday in Devon. His grandmother made an appeal on social media, and soon the toy bunny was being pictured in many different countries. Here's Ben Chapman on the mysterious new tale of Peter Rabbit.
For most of his life, Ethan McCann wouldn't go anywhere without his best buddy. But it seems the same can't be said for this soft toy. Inseparable since Ethan was a baby, Peter Rabbit went missing during a family holiday in Devon.
I was on the bus, and next thing we know, when we went off, I left him on the bus. I was like crying upstairs, going mad, crying. It was so sad.
In desperation, Grandma Roz turned to social media, and no doubt with some help from kind strangers, Peter began sending Ethan postcards from his travels around the world. He met the England football team at Wembley before going to Tokyo to take in the Olympics, even finding a girlfriend in Venice and giving his boy some hope.
It's like my dreams come true.
Because you knew he was out there having a good time?
I knew it. Because I knew he would never give up on me.
Then last week came a knock at the door. Peter, looking as good as new after his holidays, had arrived home together with his girlfriend and his luggage.
Do you wish you'd been able to go with him?
Yeah, I'm really jealous.
Ethan's family say they've no idea how Peter did it, but are grateful to those who helped him. Now he's back where he belongs. Ben Chapman, ITV News, Worcestershire.
And we end our programme tonight by remembering a man who did so much to inspire all of us here at ITV News. Our former editor, but also colleague and friend, Jeff Hill, sadly passed away this morning at the age of 52, 4 years after being diagnosed with leukaemia. Jeff was the editor of ITV News for 7 years. It was a job he described as his greatest honour. Jeff first came to ITN more than 20 years ago, and he rose to lead our newsroom. Throughout, we all felt Jeff's passion and enthusiasm for news. He led us through some of the biggest stories of recent times, including the Brexit referendum, 2 general elections, and Donald Trump's arrival in the White House. When he was diagnosed with leukaemia, Jeff faced it with the same unwavering optimism and determination. And even during his treatment, he worked to raise awareness of the disease. Our thoughts tonight are with Jeff's family, his wife Nat, who also works with us, and his children Emily, Olivia and Alfie. Today they called him their wonderful lion of a man. Many of us here were lucky to have called him a friend. He loved this programme and everyone who worked on it.